gets hates rural farmers that much?
As soon as you give people the power, they are more independent. So rural farmers without any link to Monsanto and all the pesticides required, all these they're not independent. So you can see how many people, for example, in India and all this non-organic movement. So
check what happened in Netherlands from the beginning of this year. It's exactly what they want to happen in Kenya. The government in Netherlands wanted to take over agricultural land, and that is what the Finance Bill 2024 was doing, taking away our land, making our lands that are freehold, taking them to leasehold, talking about that if you've not been using your land.
Quality of fertilizer, which is so poor that we end up getting a low quantity. For let's say, for example, that we have a 1 acre land of tea is likely to produce 1,000 kg. Then you give us poor quality of fertilizer, which will end up having 500 kg.
Not making sense that someone came and told us, oh, you're doing organic agriculture. Oh, you're doing mixed farming. No, this manure is not supposed to be used in your farm. It has, salmonella and all that. Go back to your pocket, go get my fertilizer from the shops, and that's what you use. Also, go use pesticides. Someone is coming and dictating your life, yet you had a lasting solution. You are sorted in your own way without involving too much capitalism in the mix. But because they want to milk all the money that you have, spinach called cabbages, yet you have all these kienyeji mbogas in your farm, and you should cut them out and throw them away. There is no way we are planting maize, we are planting wheat, and then we go process and remove everything.
Tutimize na malengo yetu, jumuiya yetu sote tulilinde, tuajibike, tuimarike, umoja wetu ni nguzo yetu, idumu jumuiya yetu.
Gets hates rural farmers that much?
As soon as you give people the power, they are more independent. So rural farmers without any link to Monsanto and all the pesticides required, all these MGO seeds. So yeah, they're not independent. So you can see how many people, for example, in India or also in Brazil have to or commit suicide just because they cannot buy their Monsanto stuff anymore. And Bill Gates is involved in all this non-organic movement. So I think he's just trying to get over control. He's buying farmland a lot in the US, also in other continents, and he's just trying to seize power. So yeah, and you can also see what he's doing in Africa with all these vaccine programs, Africa, India. So which are, in my opinion, unnecessary. So you have to question yourself, why is he doing this?
Mm-hmm. And do you think African governments understand this? Because most of Western countries are beginning to see the lies and the fraud behind what he's doing. Do you think African governments understand the depth of what he's doing?
Well, I don't want to offend anyone, but I think especially in Africa, the governments and politicians mainly understand money. So bribing is very common there. Bribing is common all over the world, but I think especially in Africa. I mean, those who don't bow. Remember the last president of Tanzania who said like, "Oh, we didn't need all these vaccines. We didn't need all this. Look, there's papaya. We just tested positive." I mean, he just died afterwards. He got killed, I think, even. So I think many politicians are aware of this. So it's the easiest thing is to bow, maybe accept bribes, or just the last couple of years. And they say that China has more impact on the country than actually Bill Gates in the US. So that's another thing to consider when making such a statement.
So, in your own view, what do you think is the ultimate consequence? What will happen to Africans maybe in 10, 15 years or 20 years if they don't take initiative to run away from this control?
It would just like continue. So it would just be like I live in a second world country, so we also exploited. But we can just sum it up. The first world countries are exploiting Africa, and they do it by bribing politicians and then taking the raw materials and taking whatever a country is producing. And I mean, you contacted me because of my tweet about Kenyans, 250,000 Kenyans going to Germany. So they don't only exploit your raw materials, they're also exploiting your skilled people and saying like, hey, let's bring all the skilled people you got like to Germany or somewhere else. So, but it should be the other way around. So actually, Kenya should be looking for skilled people they pay in order to improve the infrastructure, the industry, and keep your own raw material or your whatever your country is producing in the country to make it better. So right now, I think the majority is going to China, but in the past, the majority of raw materials was going to especially France and also the rest of Europe.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's talk about food that is natural food that we get directly from the soil, and the correlation with the explosion of chronic diseases like diabetes, hypertension, and cancer. Do you think this is a deliberate conspiracy to make the world population more sicker so that you can exploit them? Or what is the science behind the explosion of diseases and the food that we eat today?
Yeah, I can just tell you how it was in Kenya. So I've just lived in Kenya and Namibia, so I cannot tell about the rest of Africa. And but what I experienced there actually is that the vegetables you buy in the market, they were most likely organic. At least I did my groceries in Gong, so those were small scale farmers who were selling their produce just right there, and I doubt they were using the Monsanto and other crazy pesticides, because these vegetables were not looking perfect, but they tasted great, right? But what I figured is that most people in your country cook with corn oil, so vegetable oil, seed oils, and this is highly inflammatory. So I think most of the modern diseases, we say Western world diseases, but of course it also applies to Kenya, goes back to an excessive vegetable oil and sugar consumption, which I've seen a lot there. So, but in terms of produce, as in meat and normal vegetables, I'm not talking about the wheat, etc. I think the wheat is also full of Gmos, but especially the meat in Kenya is very high quality because we got it from local Maasai, so it's probably the best meat you can get. And also the local vegetables were great, but like cooking stuff with vegetable oil is making a society sick. And also regarding Africa, so the main problem you guys have is that more and more jobs are shifting your presence to be inside an office, etc. And you guys have higher melanin levels. I mean, like we cannot deny that. And the higher the melanin levels, the less vitamin D is produced when you're exposed to the sun. So there are very interesting studies, and leads to cancers and other chronic diseases.
All right. For those who are listening, you've had Dr. Simon talk about seed oils. So seed oils are these yellow things in the supermarket. The corn oil, the soybean, the Elianto, canola, fresh fry, Rina, Kimbo, Kasuku, Ufuta, Blue Band, all those yellow things that they call vegetable salad. There is no vegetable in them. If you want to know there's no vegetable in them, for example, can you plant an acre of vegetable and then squeeze and see how many liters of oil you'll get from them? So
Nothing.
These are seed oils. These are seed oils that are prepared in the laboratory and in the factory. Go bleaching, they go cleaning, they go. So these seed oils have been associated with the rising cases of hypertension and diabetes and all those things. I think I have written this a million times on my timeline and asking you to avoid seed oils. This is the point. If a nation is not healthy, then that nation cannot free itself from tyranny. Go to Kenyatta National Hospital today. Go to the cancer department. I was there last week. And do you know that the veranda of that unit has now been changed? It is a waiting bay. Yani watu wanajaa mpaka wanatengenezewa sa veranda walale huko. Because the status of our health as a nation is dwindling every day. And if a nation is not healthy, there is no way we will emancipate ourselves from tyranny. So, Simon, what is your, comment on Africa as a general, the obesity we see around, the diabetes we see around, and the rural farmers, because you've been in our rural Kenya?
Yeah, so what I've seen, I can just tell you, like in Nairobi, in the city center, you see more obese people. But if you go a bit outside, maybe even towards Mount Kenya or to the south, I hardly saw any obese persons. So it's very hard to find them, especially among Maasai. There is no obese person, because what they do, they literally are herding their goats all day long outside while jumping around, which I find super impressive. And so they eat healthy food. They eat their goats. They eat their local roots and vegetables. They do sports, as in jumping and running, and they get exposed to the sun the whole day. So they have vitamin D blood serum levels of around higher than 50, 55 on average, which is extremely healthy. So you don't see any obese people there. But the more you go into the city center, into the economic center of Nairobi, you see all these people who are, who go to the office, who work inside, who never are exposed to the sun, who eat out to get their food, which is most likely fried and vegetable oils. They have desserts. They have all these Western processed poison food. So there you see obese people. So what I'm doing here in Brazil, I'm living in the middle of nowhere, like in the middle of the forest, of the rainforest. And I grow my own meat, own eggs, own vegetables, everything. So I don't eat processed food. And I can just tell everybody, don't eat processed food. Fry your stuff. I mean, best would be like barbecuing or smoking. But if you want to fry something, use olive oil or use lard or whatever animal-based stuff is available, which is not based on seeds.
But there's a myth that goes around that if you use animal fat, you'll get heart disease, you'll get whatever, cholesterol, and things like those.
They're lying.
Yeah.
It's a huge lie.
Yeah.
Saturated
How
fats
many
are good.
times will we tell them? Because when they go to hospitals, the hospitals tell them, cholesterol, animal fats are bad. You'll get a heart attack, heart disease.
Yeah, that's what they tell, but it's a lie. It's nothing but a lie. So the most important actually building block in the body is actually saturated fats. So I try to eat as many saturated fats as possible, and I'm healthy as a fiddle, So fit as a fiddle, that's how you say it. So I can just tell people, like, saturated fats is good, and whenever you have a big steak with this white fat on, eat the white fat. It's healthy. So don't cut it off. You want to eat fats.
All right. So holding there.
About now, the explosion of cancers, autism in children, hii ingine sijui wanaita maugonjwa zingine, mental health wanaita sijui ADHD sijui nini. All these problems are related to the foods that we are eating nowadays. Foods that are processed foods that are si zile chakula organic that we are supposed to eat. Okay? So what am I saying? Let's not keep quiet. Let's not. These people in parliament, you know what these people in parliament are doing? Wanataka saa zile mmetulia, saa zile mmesawi story, mmeshatulia tu hivi, bill inaamshwa tena, second reading 1 week, a month, hiyo kitu imewekwa law, kwa sababu wanangojanga saa zile tumetulia tu. That's when they want to make these things effective. And I'm telling you, the takeover of the food security in this country, the takeover of food sovereignty in this country is worse than the Finance Bill 2024. Let me tell you guys, you'd rather uko na chakula unaweza kula mzuri na una pesa. But just imagine they take over your money, they take over your food, they register our seeds. So now Bill Gates, and I don't know if I have time to explain this. All these things are related to Bill Gates. All of them. because Bill Gates has shares, he has ownership in all these seed companies, the Monsantos, all these companies, the Madawa, easy Madawa, mashamba zote. He has links to all that. So this guy is pushing us to be permanent customers to him. His food, his patents, and also his medicine. He's also in medicine. So if you look clearly, what is happening in this Namali Bill Gates, Juicy, was it last week? There was the farmers, the agri, there was the conference that was happening in Rwanda. It's a Bill Gates funded farmers, sort of like a convention. And they were analyzing, and someone needs to go and check what was discussed in that convention. They were analyzing how the effects of agricultural changes in the African communities. Na kabla aende Rwanda, amekuwa juzi tu hapa Ethiopia. What is he doing in Ethiopia? He was going to wheat farms. He was going to check out farms, the GMO farms that have been rolled out in Ethiopia. Akuingia Kenya. Then he went direct to Rwanda for a week. And of course, you had a lot of Kenyan representation there. So they want to take over agriculture with a very strategic plan. Is it good for us? No, it's not.
All right, all there.
Do they have our best? Okay.
All there. Bill Gates want to eat everything. There was a mzee, I'm sure you remember that mzee. And I think his sound bite should always be going round your head. I don't know if I can get the mzee.
Iligulwa.
Yes.
Waligula. Waligula. Hey. Haki ya Mungu.
So this mzee, we don't want to be in a situation where in the next 10 years we are saying waligula, walitukula, walitumaliza. This is the time to stand up. And I've seen someone telling me that, Amerix, we need to think about registering a revolution party like EFF of South Africa. Well, I don't know. I'm not a politician, so I cannot say much about that. But I think it's also high time that Kenyans consider just revolting, just being rebellious. Because unajua mna deal na mtu mwenye haelewi. Juzi meona amepewa some award hapa. Kumbe hiyo ni kitu alipewa 2022. Sasa analeta hapa anasema I have been awarded transparency, whatever. And then the media, the corrupt media takes it. Why doesn't the media speak about these things? Because the media is in bed with this corrupt politician. Are you talking to other farmers telling them that the government has let them down and it is high time?
About the government doing the wrong things and questioning them and asking for petitions and requesting people to wake up and see what is happening and realizing that democracy is not given. We also have to play our part and play it aggressively at this point. So at that point, that's when I found myself not in the list. So definitely I'm leaving. And seeing the results of me speaking out and talking to other farmers and telling them this is not okay. There is no way that someone can tell you that the natural vegetables that grow in your farm are weeds and you should go back to your pocket, go get seeds called skumawiki, called spinach, called cabbages, yet you have all these kienyeji mbogas in your farm and you should cut them out and throw them away. There is no way we are planting maize, we are planting wheat, and then we go process and remove everything, all the good roughage, all the lipids, the fatty oils in those seeds, removing everything. We give that to the animals. Actually, the animals feed better than us. And then we end up eating the starch. There is no way that it's not making sense that someone came and told us, oh, you're doing organic agriculture. Oh, you're doing mixed farming. No, this manure is not supposed to be used in your farm. It has, salmonella and all that. Go back to your pocket, go get my fertilizer from the shops, and that's what you use. Also, go use pesticides. You know, someone is coming and dictating your life, yet you had lasting solution. You are sorted in your own way without involving too much capitalism in the mix. But because they want to milk all the money that you have, because they've exhausted in other countries, they're coming and convincing you. And for me, as Farmer on Fire, is to try and show people, does this make sense? Does one add up to one? You can use your manure. You don't need to go back to the pocket and experience fake fertilizer. We are definitely going to have food shortage on cereals. There is no way the government is willing to import Mexican maize for 6,000 shillings, yet the NCPB cannot even buy at that price from the local farmer. The math is not mathing, and we need to start the countries. They're coming and convincing you. And for me, as Farmer on Fire, is to try and show people, does this make sense? Does one add up to one? You can use your manure. You don't need to go back to the pocket and experience fake fertilizer. We are definitely going to have food shortage on cereals. There is no way the government is willing to import Mexican maize for 6,000 shillings, yet the NCPB cannot even buy at that price from the local farmer. The math is not mathing, and we need to start
Just
getting
hold on. You said
actively.
something that the government is importing maize from Mexico at how much?
6,000
And buying
per bag
from farmers at how much?
at 4,000.
My goodness. What is
Yes.
that?
That's ridiculous.
Is that
And the
happening in
cost of
Kenya?
production, yeah, and the local cost of production, because of high taxes, no subsidies, no regard for farmers, fake fertilizer scandals, it's
And why are you
very,
voting for
very
such a
high.
government? What's wrong with you farmers? Why are you voting for such governments? Why are you voting for such politicians?
I would say it's because farmers are very religious people. We believe that we have to work very close with God, and someone has used that to manipulate us.
Samson, are you manipulated? Samson, you're a farmer, right? Are you a sugarcane farmer? Samson.
Hi.
Yes.
No, I'm not a sugarcane farmer. I'm actually doing tea.
Yes, oh, tea. Right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Where are you calling me from?
Yeah, I'm calling you from Nyamira County.
What is going on there? Are you people getting value for your produce?
Actually, there's nothing back here. There's totally nothing. Funny enough, the factories which are based here, they are exploiting our farmers, us farmers. Because tell me why.
But you are voting for people like Cheborok who have been accused of sexual predatory behavior. You are voting for them. Are you not the one voting for them?
Funny enough, I'm in the private sector. I'm not in KTDA. But again, if some KTDA farmers who are here can speak for themselves, for a private sector, they are trying to exploit us. Tell me why they are bringing harvesting machines. Then, on the other hand, they are telling us to use hand plucking and give good quality. For these machines, they give bad quality. Then they are paying us 17 per kilo. What will a farmer who has a tea plantation can use that money for? Because if we are being paid 17 per kilo and they are paying the workers 7 bob per kilo, you're getting 10 bob as the owner. It's not making any sense. Coming to the quality of fertilizer they are giving us, there's poor quality of fertilizer. The fertilizer that they are giving us is so different from what they are using themselves. I don't know if Wakili, who is here, can help us understand if the people who are in parliament can bring a bill that will regulate the private sectors from increasing and decreasing the price as they wish for the sake of that, without even consulting the farmers, that because of A, B, and C, we are likely to increase or decrease the price from which we are buying tea leaves from you guys. Another point is the quality of fertilizer, which is so poor that we end up getting a low quantity for let's say for example that we have a 1 acre land of tea is likely to produce 1,000 kg, then you give us poor quality of fertilizer, which will end up as you giving 500 kg. A lot of farmers don't understand even how they will do a soil pH. Some do, some don't understand. That it makes us to go deep and ask ourselves which is the way forward as a country and as a farmers. Yeah.
Okay.
They do not even know how to differentiate organic seeds and GMO seeds. They do not know what is happening behind the seeds, the scenes to take over food security in this country. Fine, social media is setting a narrative, it's setting a face. But can we be able to lift this discussion? Lift it from social media, lift it from platforms, and take it to the people. That's the only way people will understand what is going on. And if you want to see an example of what is happening in Kenya, just check the Netherlands. Check what happened in Netherlands from the beginning of this year. It's exactly what they want to happen in Kenya. The government in Netherlands wanted to take over agricultural land, and that is what the Finance Bill 2024 was doing, taking away our land, making our lands that are freehold, taking them to leasehold, talking about that if you've not been using your land, the government can take back the land. I hope people understand where these clauses were in the Finance Bill. There was also the land acquisition. It was a proposal in the commission that powers of the Land Commission are being taken from the Land Commission of Kenya, who actually are the custodians of the Kenyan land, and that was being transferred to a CS, one particular CS, anaweza amka and makes a decision that, Ngong Forest saizi is not public land. Hiyo sasa tumepeana carbon credits. Hivyo forest inaenda hivyo. I haven't followed to know where that goes. I'm trying to relate this story with what has been happening in Netherlands. And the Netherlands farmers, of course, they are a bit mechanized than us. We are more of small-scale farmers. The other farmers are a bit mechanized. They use machines on most of the things, but they're still individual farmers. They're still family farmers. Like you find a generation of farmers from the great-grandparents to children who have been doing farming as an economic activity. What do? They camped in government offices, walimwaga hay huko, wakamwaga maziwa, wakamwaga cabbage, wakamwaga hizo chakula zote walikuwa wanatoa kwa shamba, wanazipump na machines kwa ofisi za serikali. The pressure was so much until the government had to back down and leave the Netherlands farmers alone. I think people need to go and see what was happening in Europe. Their lands wakaacha kuchukua shamba zao na wakaacha kumonopolize farming in Netherlands, because this is a tradition that they've been doing in this country. That is the direction they want to take with our country. And one thing we must understand, it is how these things are done. They are so subtle. They come with such a PR. They come with such an image. Ushaiona ile nyoka inakuuma na inakupuliza? That's our government. Yani, have you seen people who hold a party to kill you and you're invited in that party? That's what the Kenyan government is. Mnacheka now, they massage you, but in a few minutes, they will be killing you and celebrating your death. That's the kind of government that we have. Our government is a middleman to the highest bidder. Who are the highest bidder in the food industry? Bill Gates. He's going all over Africa. You need to check the history of Bill Gates in India. Us as African farmers, we don't do monoculture. Monoculture is whereby these people are encouraging one crop. Kama ni kahawa, kama ni ngano, kama ni mahindi. That's not the kind of agriculture Africans have been doing. We do cross farming and we mix our crops. Nikipanda mahindi, katikati nimeka maragwe. Okay, kama nimepanda kitunguu, ninapanda na sukuma. That's the kind of agriculture that we have been doing. And that is what they are telling us not to do.